So you're really welcome. Thanks for joining me. First thing I'd like us to do is just take a seat and get comfortable. So if you're sitting down on the floor, use some sort of prop for the pelvis. Maybe a cushion or two, or a book or two, or if you have one of those yoga bricks, you can sit up on that. And if you're sitting in a chair, perfect. The game is that your hips are comfortable and they're anchored, a sense of being heavy on what you're sitting on. And then we use that quality of anchoredness or groundedness through the pelvis to rise up through the spine and create some length in the torso, in which both the abdomen and the sternum get a sense of lengthening to them. Okay? What we're trying to create through this simple alignment, and if you think about it in terms of nature, and we think of something like a tree, you take the seed of a tree and you put it in the earth, what it will do first is grow roots and move down into the soil, down into the earth. And that's what it does to create a sense of how it's connected and supported. And it's a twofold process. In one sense, the seed is supporting the earth, and then the earth is supporting the seed. There's this beautiful give-take situation. Quite often with our bodies, we don't do that. That our bodies are held in such a particular way that our capacity to feel a sense of groundedness or foundation or connection or even safety is diminished. So through this type of a practice, we get a chance to really work with that, to consciously begin to sit, align, hold ourselves in a way in which we're feeling into that space. Now we do that because when we create a sense of foundation, when we take time to do that, and all of the poses that we might work with will have that aspect to them. They'll all have that sense of foundation before they'll go anywhere else. Because once we find foundation, the nervous system begins to switch from sympathetic to parasympathetic, from safety, protection-based to opening, flourishing, expansion, creativity-based. Basically, we're moving to optimum alignment in which the whole system begins to work as more of an integrated system. The movement of energy and information begins to increase through our body-mind system. We move into a more vital place. When we're primarily in protection mode, in sympathetic mode, things are cut off, things are protected. You can only go on for so long in that particular mode without things breaking down. And this is a big symptom of our modern world, is most of us are overtly in the sympathetic nervous system, held by it in this protection mode. And not only does it make us sick, but it's actually the lens then we get to see through. And even if you think of it in terms of what's happening in our world around us, all of the fear that's being generated at the moment, all of the fear that's being perpetuated, we see it around us, we feel it around us. And one of the gifts of this experience is that it's becoming so overtly visible that it's going to help us make a decision to step away from it. And the decision to step away is a radical act, to move from a fear-based experience, particularly an unconscious fear, to bring it into the conscious, to see it, and to choose to step away from it into something else. And it's a radical act, and it's also sometimes described as a leap of faith. Because ultimately we're being asked to trust life. And that's a pretty out there thing to even contemplate. So for instance, if you're sitting here and you close your eyes and you were to contemplate the idea of trusting life, even to say it to yourself, I trust life, I trust life. What do you feel when you say that to yourself? And for most of us, what will come up is the strong feeling of not trusting. That is so endemic to our systems. We've woven it through every cell in our bodies. It's so woven and deeply embedded in our psyches to not trust. We come from generations and generations of mistrust. So to begin to contemplate this idea of trust is a very challenging endeavor. And yet we also know it's the foundation of our capacity to live richly, to experience fully, to live in the world in a way in which life can be more joyful for us, more exuberant, more full of possibility and potential. And it begins really with a decision to explore this as a possibility. So even as we move into our practice today, the idea of this practice being a process by which, or a tool that you use to begin to access this idea of trusting life more. Trusting life more. What if I could trust it? And the thing is that capacity to trust is really part of what we are. We can never be separated from it, but we can kind of disengage it or switch it off by feeding, be it consciously or unconsciously, the sympathetic nervous system part that is there, certainly just keeping us safe, protecting us. But we often do it when we don't need to do it. That sympathetic nervous system is activated by a wound that happens in our past, and we don't switch it off. We don't regulate it. And our practice is interested in bringing us back into balance, back into equilibrium. So things begin to work in a way that is more integrated and has a more of a quality of balance, that our bodies, minds, hearts can be aligned to this more expansive possibility, to this more expansive experience of ourselves, of life, of the potential, of possibility of waking up and life being something that we can trust. So close your eyes, move your attention to your breath. If you can, I want you to breathe through your nose. First, I want you to take a few deeper breaths, a little shrugging in the shoulders. Just explore sitting up with as little effort as you can. Let the shoulders relax. Take a few deep breaths, swell the ribs. Just feel all of that space. Feel all of that space in the body. And we'll begin by letting the awareness just come inside. Notice what's there. Maybe it's, what are the sensations in the body? What are the feelings? Maybe be aware of what thoughts are moving through. If there's any thoughts that are, stick out, what's in there for you in this moment? We all develop our capacity to focus on the exterior experience, to the point where most of us get agitated, where we're very distracted, that we're being pulled to some outer experience all the time. Now come in. Come inside. What's there for you in this moment? What's there now? Now notice your breath. Get close to the breath. So we're breathing through our nose. Now with as little effort as you can, I want you to deepen the breath. Not to the point where you're forcing or straining, but enough to feel like the lungs are filling up to a comfortable level. And then let the exhalation also get longer. If I was to say, you're breathing in slow motion. And I want you to make the inhalation and the exhalation one movement. There's a fluidness to it. There's no break. And then really feel and listen to the breath. So no part is forced or strained or pushed. There's a uniformity to every part of it. And just let yourself continue in this way. Staying close to your breath. Slow, fluid and steady. Really how we'd like to experience our nervous system. Now as you continue to breathe in this way, what might be agitated within you or distracted within you will show itself to you. It'll be uncomfortable to hold as you begin to regulate part of your nervous system. And this is a lot of what we're doing through our practice, is we're revealing. We're bringing what we want to move through or let go of into the light, So once we get to see it, we can then work with it or make a decision to release it. So just stay with the breath as best you can. And whatever else is there for you, whatever else comes up for you, just allow it to arise and allow it to pass away. Just stay with the breath. Slow, fluid, steady. Stay with the breath. Perfect, you got it. And then after the next exhalation, let the breath come back to its natural rhythm. Just stay close to the breath. I'm just going to read a few lines by John O'Donoghue. Our fear of freedom, the refuge of false belonging. On the outside, a person may seem contented and free, but their inner landscape may be a secret prison. Why do so many of us reduce and domesticate our one journey through this universe? Why do we long for the invisible walls to keep us in and keep mystery out? We have a real fear of freedom. In general, everyone is in favor of freedom. We fight for it, we praise it. In the practice of our lives, however, we usually keep away from freedom. We find it awkward and disturbing. Freedom challenges us to awaken and realize all the possibilities that sleep in the clay of our hearts. And this is what our practice in yoga has always been interested in. It's how we step into what is asleep within the clay of our hearts. So let's open the eyes. We're going to take the hands to the sides of the ribs, fingers at the front, thumbs at the back. And let's just take a few deeper breaths into where the hands are, particularly into the back of the ribs. So you feel the whole ring of your ribs, the whole circumference of the ribs moving as you breathe. Now, as you continue to do that, you can even press in with the hands just to give the ribs a little bit more work in their expanding. Lift the ribs up. So you feel a lengthening. You might notice it sides, front, and the back. And then as you feel the ribs, we're going to arc a little over to one side. As best you can, keep the hips even so you're not tilting the pelvis over. And that means it's not going to be a big movement. Just enough to tune into a bit of tightness on the elongated side. Breathe into that. And then come back to center, take a deep breath, fill it up again, and go to the second side. Nice. And then come back through center. Press and fill the ribs, lift the ribs one more time, all the way over to one side. Now put one hand down on the floor, push the earth away so you get to go a little deeper into that lengthening side. Wherever you're noticing the tension, it might be down in the hip, the waist, up in the ribs, wherever it is, breathe into it, breathe into the tightness. You don't need to go to a point in which you're forcing or straining, but enough to connect you to some of the hidden holding in your body. Bring the breath to it, bring the awareness to it, bring a kindness to it, not a forcing. Perfect. 3, 2, 1. We'll come back through center, hold the two sides, fill and lift again. We'll go to the other side, put the other hand down. Enjoy, breathe into what you're meeting. Breathe for 3, for 2, and then for 1. Perfect. We come all the way back. And we're going to transition onto our hands and our knees now, onto all fours. So here on all fours, walk the knees back an inch or two. Let the belly and lower back relax. Breathe into the ribs as if you were holding them. As if you were holding them in the same way. Breathe into those spaces, the back and the sides of the ribs. Let the shoulders begin to move a little so all of the movement through the body is fluid and comfortable. Close the eyes again. Just feel your body. Notice where your neck and head is. For most of us, they'll want to drop downward. I want you to lift your neck. If the eyes were open, the gaze would be slightly forward along the floor. Notice that you have a natural arching of the lower back as the belly relaxes. Any tightening you notice through the back, could you breathe into that space? And every breath then teaches the softer tissue that contracts how to expand, how to maintain more space between the bones. And again, that space will increase the movement of energy and information of blood through our system. So things are just swaying and feeling. An opportunity to just be in your body. To be in the vehicle of your body. The body is, in one sense, is a language. And most of us don't really inhabit our bodies fully. We're in some parts of them that are working, usually overworking, while other parts are disconnected. And that's perfectly normal. But if we could have a practice that allows us to open to more of the experience of our bodies, to feel the body, whatever might be there, be it areas that are easy, comfortable, light, or indeed areas that are stuck, resistant, holding, wounded. Breathe and feel and notice. Move your neck and head too, just to feel what's going on there. A little bit longer like this. So the movement, the body, the breath. Wherever the body wants you to go to. Now, coming back through center, lower back relaxed, so there's an arch there. Without moving, press your knees apart. I want you to feel that in the pelvis. So those thigh bones that sit right into the hips, they're actually trying to widen here. Breathe into the ribs, particularly if there's a tightness there. Breathe into the back of the ribs. Bend the elbows a couple of inches toward the sides of the room. And then gripping with the fingers, don't move your hands, but pull them toward each other. So the knees press apart, the hands pull in, and then can you press the hands down and begin to re-straighten the arms. So a lot of pushing and pulling. Now one more thing, without moving, pull your hands toward your legs, toward your knees. Nothing moves, but notice the difference in the tension, how it moves around the body, how the belly begins to stretch and get longer. Now again, if anywhere gets tight, you've got to breathe into it. If it gets too tight, you've got to back off a little. Breathe into what you're meeting. Just stay with it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then soften come up onto the knees, high on the knees. Great. Okay, we're going to take the left leg forward. We're going to take the foot slightly forward of the knee, ankle slightly forward of the knee. Very simple at the beginning, 2 hands on the front knee. If you need something to support you, a brick or a support, and have a hand or have your hand on a wall, perfect. You make that call. Very simple. We just let the front knee sink forward. Just to whatever feels accessible. Do not force, do not strain, whatever feels accessible. Wherever tension then is revealed in the body, I want you to breathe into that space. Yeah, just step by step. We don't need to get to the final hurdle. We just go to the first place where we notice holding in the body, and we take a bit of time, we meet that space, so we can comfortably and safely peel that layer away before we need to or begin to access something that's even deeper. So there is what they call a krama, an order by which we unfold ourselves. So just pause and breathe into what you're meeting. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we'll come on back and we'll just change sides. Very simple. Again, front foot slightly further forward of the knee, and then we just let the 2 hips, the front knee, just sink forward. And breathe. Gaze to the horizon, forward. If you find the back knee is sensitive, you can stick something underneath it, you can pad it. Stay with your breath. So in terms of our body's capacity to access that quality of safety or foundation, opening up the hips, working with the legs, letting or supporting the access or the movement of energy through this area really begins to increase our capacity to tap into that sense of, okay, I feel anchored, I feel safe in my body. For many of us, the kind of what's become the default is to not feel that, to feel unsafe, and we then mask that or push it away or lock it away. So just breathe into what you're meeting, breathe into the tightness wherever it might be. Breathe 3, and breathe 2, breathe 1. Perfect. Okay, let's go first side again. First side again. Okay, before we go forward with the hips, we're going to take the hands to the ribs like we've held them before. I'm really interested in the back ribs. They tend to be the kind of the weaker area that slips. So you breathe into the back ribs. One way of working with them is bringing the gaze downward so you feel those back ribs get fuller. That you gonna get a sense of how much they can expand. Keep them full as you lift the front again. Press the ribs out into the hands. Even lift the ribs away from the hips again. Manually decompress. Now with all of that, let the hips sink forward again. You're still breathing into those back ribs, you're letting the hips sink forward. I want you to then work the toes in the 2 feet. So the toenails of the back foot pressing down, the pads of the front foot. But activate the feet. Breathe. Gaze still forward. Now if you feel like it, this is entirely up to you, press the back foot down, lift the back knee up. Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we lower the back knee, release and release. Second side. Again, before we take the hips forward, we hold the ribs. A couple of breaths. Again, if you wanted to really teach the back ribs about fullness, you could bring the gaze down, which shortens the belly and expands those back lower ribs. That separates the vertebrae around the top of the lumbar and the base of the thoracic. And we fill and we lift and we expand. And then bringing that with you as you let the hips again sink forward. Feel into the toes, activate the toes. Now staying here, perfect. Only if you feel like going a little deeper, you press the back foot down, you lift the back knee, keep the gaze forward. Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, and then for 1. And we release. And we release. Perfect, great stuff. Okay, we're going to do a little bit more with the hips. Let's say left foot forward, right hand comes down to the floor, over to the right a little. I'm going to take my left ankle, I'm going to cross it over my right thigh. Yeah, so the left ankle and the back leg are connected. Foot's on the floor, sole of the foot on the floor. Left knee will point a little bit to the left naturally as you do that. Hand on the inside of the knee, left hand on the inside of the knee. Now you're pushing the knee back into the hand, without moving. So as you're pressing the knee toward the midline of the body, the left glute, I want you to think of sticking the butt out. Like what could you do to create an arch in the lower back? Sit the butt out so you feel that stretch in that left glute. That widening, sense of widening. And this is opening up the pelvis. And as we open it up, it'll also become more stable because you're going to get to access more of those little muscles around the place, or the tissue of the glutes, and they just begin to work with more efficiency, more effectiveness. The flow of blood into the muscle increases. So it just opens up, creates dexterity, clears out what's ready to be cleared out. Breathe 5, breathe 4, breathe 3, breathe 2, breathe 1. Perfect. We release the hand. Just step that leg back. You feel, even as you're moving, you feel the difference, how one will begin to open up and become lighter. Second side. Cross the ankle over the back thigh. Put the hand on the inside of the knee. Push the knee into the hand. And as you're pressing the knee into the hand, you're sticking the butt out. The sense of widening as you stick the bum out. Breathe into what you're meeting. Breathe 5. Breathe 4. Breathe 3. Breathe 2. Breathe 1. And then we release. We release. Perfect. Let's go back to the first side. Let's do it one more time. Left leg forward, right hand down. Left foot crosses right ankle. Hand on the inside of the knee. Push the knee into the hand, stick the bum out. Keep breathing. So you're trying to find a sense of the arching of the lower back by sticking the butt out. So when the thigh bone goes deeper into the acetabulum, when we take it backwards into the hip, that has a chain reaction through the sacrum, that sacroiliac joint, that area of the supportive part of the lower back. All connected. Breathe. Now, can you push into the left hand, lengthen the left arm by leaning back a little with the upper body? So you notice that front body gets a little bit of a lengthening also. Breathe 3, breathe 2, breathe 1. Now pause for a moment, relax for a moment. Is it possible with the index finger and the middle finger to hook the left big toe? Now this won't work for all of us, but give it a little go and see what happens. Can you lift that left foot? Can you lift it? Now you might find this is enough. Perfect. Feel free to pause for a moment. If you feel like it, if you feel it's possible, extend the left foot over to the left. Stretch it out to the left. Breathe 3, breathe 2, breathe 1, and then bend the knee. Step the leg back. Perfect. Come on up, have a little waddle in the hips, and we'll go over to the second side. Right hand or left hand down, right foot comes forward. We cross the ankle over the thigh, right hand on the inside of the knee. Now take your time, just pause. These are big stretches for these muscles that so often get rigid. You know, so much of the movement, particularly in the pelvic and the shoulder area, becomes so limited. These areas become so calcified for us. We just take our time as we begin to work with them and open them up. Push the knee into the hand, stick the butt out. Again, the idea of an arching of the lower back. The front body that wants to drop down and forward, can you lean back a little so that right arm might get a little straighter? Breathe into what you're meeting. Stay with the breath. Perfect, you got it. Breathe 3. Breathe 2. Breathe 1. Nice work. Okay, so we're going to reach down. We're going to hook the big toe again. Now this again might be enough. You don't have to lift the foot. This is just exploring or playing. Lift the foot. Now the bum goes back. You try to stick it out. You try to maintain the arch of the lower back. Then you extend the leg. Then you extend the leg. Okay, and it doesn't matter where it goes to. Whether it goes a little or goes all the way, it doesn't matter. Breathe 5, breathe 4, breathe 3, breathe 2, breathe 1. And then we release and it goes back. And we're back on our hands and our knees. And we just let the hips sway. We let the shoulders shrug. We create a little movement that just feels fluid and simple, comfortable. No forcing, no straining. Inhaling and exhaling. Breathing here. Even close the eyes for a few rounds of breath. Okay. So again, lower back relaxed. So feel a stretch through the belly. Without moving, press the knees apart. So you're maintaining that arch in the lower back, which really aligns the pelvis in a particular and healthier way. Any tension you get, and usually for many of us it'll be kind of the top of the lower back or base of the back ribs, breathe into that space again. And as you breathe into that space, you can shrug a little through the shoulders to elongate the back of the ribs. And then at the same time, lift the neck, and that helps the sternum lift, creating an even expansion through the rib cage. We can push the knees apart, so again, we've got that sense of widening. And then very, very simple here. Left knee tilts out to the left, and then comes down onto the floor, and the right knee tilts out to the right. We bring it down, and left knee, and right knee, and left. Now as you're transitioning, keep going. The belly and lower back doesn't change its position. The arch in the lower back is there, the belly is relaxed. The work is in the pelvis, not in the belly. So many of us overwork the abdomen. If you feel the belly is doing too much, just pause, let it relax, and then see, can you bring the movement to the hips. Now, next time the left knee goes out to the left, you pause, and then I want you to make circles with the left knee. And again, the pelvis is doing the movement. One direction, and then the other direction. Perfect, and then bring it down, let the lower back belly relax again. Breathe into the ribs, push the earth away. Second side, right knee out to the right, and then you begin to make circles. One direction, then the other direction. Perfect, then you bring it back to the floor. Lower back is relaxed, little sway in the hips again. You just give the muscle time to let go of the tension. Okay, so from here, left knee out to the left foot out to the left, big toe down, little toe down. Yeah? So you've extended the left foot over to the left, big toe first comes to the floor, but then anchoring the little toe is a big stretch for the outer shin and the outer ankle. You just do the best you can. The left knee bends forward as you sit the bum back. Same kind of position we worked with already in the pelvis. You're trying to stick the butt out, find the arch in the lower back. Breathe into the ribs, a little shrugging through the shoulders. We're going to walk the two arms over to that extended leg, only as far as you can, connecting to that lengthening through the right side. Breathing into that. Breathing into the holding or the tightness. You don't have to force or strain, just whatever you're meeting. Breathe into it. Breathe for 3. Breathe for 2. Breathe for 1. And then come all the way back, step the leg in, let the hips sway a little, let the lower back relax. Big expanding breath into the ribs. Notice where the neck and head are, so they're not sinking or shrugging downward. And then Second side, right knee to the right, right foot extends, big toe. You can move as lightly as you can, little toe. You can see I point my foot forward, not out to the side, but a little out to the side is fine too. The knee doesn't bend down or even up, it goes forward and the hip sits back. So it's one movement. The knee goes forward, the pelvis goes backwards. Okay. A little shrug to the shoulders, a bit of deep breath into the ribs, just to open and loosen the upper body as best you can. Then we walk the arms to the right, to the extended leg. And wherever you're noticing the tension, and usually it's going to be on the left waist or left ribs, breathe into that. Breathe into what you're meeting. That's it. Stay with the breath. Stay with the breath. You got it. And then come all the way back, all the way back. Lower back relaxes, hips sway. Lower back relaxed. Hips sway. Close the eyes, just feel into what's there now. Inhaling and exhaling. Perfect. Okay, we're going to come back up onto the hands. Onto the knees. Okay, knees are hip distance, feet are hip distance. The tendency is the big toes will want to tilt in toward each other and the outer ankles will want to collapse out. I want you to stretch back through the big toes, even the idea of your big toes moving away from each other. And then spread the toes so you feel the toenails on the floor, but you also feel the top of the feet on the floor. Okay, hands to the base of your glutes, the base of the buttocks. Okay, sit your bum back towards your hands. I want you to sit back about halfway so you feel the glutes are active, the back of the legs are active. Now, hold the ribs. Fill the ribs, lift the belly, gazes forward. Very simple. Top of the feet are pressing down, ribs are full. We come up, we sit the bum down. We come up, we sit the bum down. Back and down. Keep going. Breathe. Ribs are staying full, back ribs in particular staying full. Breathe 5. Breathe 4. Breathe 3. 2. 1. Perfect. Okay, from here, left leg forward. And again, we're going to keep the left hand up there, bring the right down to the floor, over to the right. Now, before I bring the weight of my body over, the hand can come down lightly. The fingers are spread, and I grip at the fingers. The crease of my wrist or my elbow lines up with my thumb. Crease of the elbow lines up with my thumb, and then I bring the weight over the arm. Left hand on the left ribs, same position we've done already a few times. Breathe into the ribs, push the earth away, let the ribs you're holding arc and open. Wherever the tension is, wherever you're noticing it most, breathe into it. Breathe into it. And then take the left hand right up to the crown of your head. So your elbow's almost in front of your nose. So the hand's right over the top of the head, not the side of the head, right over the top. So the wrist is almost coming over your forehead. Elbows in front of the nose, fingers are kind of gripping just toward the back of the skull. I want you to press your skull, your head back into your fingers. Resist with the hand and arm. And then that left elbow, that top elbow tilts toward the right. So you notice it all the way from the elbow right back to the hip is lengthening, toning, stretching. Breathe into what you're meeting. At the same time, I want you to turn a little bit toward the sky, front of the body, a little bit toward the sky. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Breathe 5. Breathe 4. Breathe 3. Stay with the breath. You got this. Breathe 2. And breathe 1. And then release the arm. Step the leg back. Second side. Hand on knee. Hand on floor. So we take our time. Few deeper breaths, hand to the ribs, bottom hand and arm, remember the alignment, the work through the hand, So the tendency, if you can see my bottom hand, the tendency is for the knuckles in the palm to drift up and the weight to drop into the wrist or the heel of the hand. Please don't let that happen. Spread the fingers, grip, and if anything, push through the base of the fingers. Really get that space. Teach it how to become more foundational. And this is a lot of what we're retraining our body to do, is to work in a way in which it's more integrated, more balanced. How we create foundation is imperative, because ultimately it'll allow us to feel more safe and then create more freedom. Push the earth away, let the top ribs open up. So this is where we get to move into freedom, but of course we're moving through the layers of contraction. We're feeling the resistance in our bodies, and that's part of the journey into freedom. Breathe for 5, for 4, for 3. Take the hand to the crown of the skull. You're looking forward in the same direction as the sternum. We're not turned up toward the sky. So the head is part of the bigger system. It's not off doing its own thing. Elbow in front of the nose. Head presses back into the fingers. So the right elbow now is tilting toward the left side of the room. From the elbow to the hip is what you're feeling the big stretch through. You see, can we turn a little bit toward the sky? Stay with the breath. Breathe for 5, 4, 3. Breathe for 2. For 1, and then we release on the knees, release the arms, close the eyes. As little work as you can, just relax here and breathe. Notice the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Perfect. We'll open the eyes. Okay, so we're going to come to sitting. We're going to use a something to sit up on. If you've got a yoga brick, great. If you've got a couple of books, something solid is kind of good, although a bit of softness, but something that's going to hold you, and we'll sit onto that. And initially we're going to sit in cross legs, if that's available. And of course, if it's not available, work out a position that works for you. Okay, from here, we bring the weight over to the left side, so the right hip lifts a little bit, holding the right inner thigh and sliding the hand under the right buttock. So all on the right side, inner thigh and buttock. Engage the leg underneath your hands. Try to create a little bit of tone. With the hand on the inner thigh, twist downward. With the hand on the buttock, pull upward. Yeah? You'll notice there's a widening that happens as you do that. So you're twisting the inner thigh down, you're pulling the buttock up. Now release that down, let it go, and notice the difference in the two sides. It's amazing that when we begin to free the body up and redistribute and realign, we feel more at ease. It begins to create that sense of, So a lot of what we've gotten used to and we would call normal, the unconscious holding in the body, and we all have it, these pockets of tension. Some of them we're really aware of, some of them are a little bit more hidden. But as we begin to release them, the sense of relief that we begin to experience and realize, wow, I've been carrying all this stuff around. Second side. Engage, inner thigh down, buttock pulls up, and again, release that. Rest the hands on the thighs. What we'll do is we'll bring the index finger and thumb just to gently connect, and we'll close the eyes. Notice your breath. Breathing through the nose. Inhaling and exhaling. Just get close to your breath. as best you can, stay with the breath. If you notice the mind wander, and that's perfectly normal, you keep coming back to the breath. Remember the breath we worked with at the beginning. Long inhalation, deep inhalation, long exhalation, slow motion breath. One movement. Inhale and exhale, one movement. Fluidness through the whole thing. So the breath is a continual, steady flow. Stay with your breath. Slow, long, deep breath. Just one more minute. And then let the breath come back to its natural rhythm. We'll open the eyes. Okay, we're going to extend the two legs forward. If you're going to stay about hip distance, heels are on the floor, toes are pointing up. First thing I want you to do is just move the toes around. Just spread them, move them, wave them, feel them. Yeah, feel this part of the feet. So this part of the feet gets so rigid, so stuck, so weak And this will be one of the main causes that you'll have issues with the arches of the feet. Those muscles that create the arches will weaken when the front of the feet aren't active and doing their thing. And a huge part of the front of the feet being able to do their thing is getting out of shoes. They're not designed to be trapped in these small spaces. They need to spread. The muscle, as it engages, as it connects to the earth, stretches and spreads. It spreads the metatarsals, the bones, and gets the foot to work in the way it's designed to work. And if the feet aren't working properly, everything above them is going to be inhibited. The feet they're designed like a spring system that creates this engagement of muscle right up through the body, supporting the joints, particularly these lower joints, ankle, knee, into the hips. So if the feet aren't working, the arches aren't working, those joints are going to have a lot more wear and tear going on with them. Spread the toes and then curl the toes downward toward the floor. So that, you'll notice, it will begin to tighten the arches of the feet. I want you to keep that general form, but relax the feet about 50%. So we're not overly working anything. Now we're not going to move the feet, but I want you to push your heels down into the floor and without moving, pull your feet towards you. You'll notice the calf and the hamstrings firing. You'll also notice suddenly it's easier to sit up a little bit. Hands on the outside of the knees. Without moving anything, push your knees apart. Feel what happens in your pelvis as you do that. Now let all of that relax. And then engage it again. Push the heels down, pull the feet towards you, press the knees apart. And then let it relax. And then pulse it. Same thing. That's it, and relax. You got it. A few more times. This is how things are designed to work when they come together, when they work as more of a team. So one more time, create the engagement. Now sustain it this time, pushing the knees apart. As the same as you're doing all of that, if you focus on your pelvis, the idea of literally trying to push your bum down so you get this sense of lift and length through the system, through the upper body. Almost, you might find you're leaning back a little in the upper body. Just stay with all of that. Breathe for 5, 3, 2, 1. Okay. We're going to let it relax, but we're going to try to stay long in the upper body. We're going to bring the right leg in. Left foot comes a little closer. Left hand holds the outer edge of the left foot. Now, even as you lean forward to grab the foot, the tendency is the front body gets small. I want you to pull the hand and leg again, or the hand and foot against each other, so you sit up. If the foot is too far away, you get to hold the ankle. Okay? So, sit up. Deep breath. We lift the foot. Again, don't let the belly sag backwards and tighten. Lift it up, lift up, lift up. Now, without bending or moving the ankle, I want you to bring the foot a little closer to you. So you're not twisting the ankle. So you don't want to overstretch the outer ankle, and you certainly don't want to crease on the inner ankle that you can see. 2 hands hold the foot, thumb on the big toe. Yeah, so right thumb on the left big toe. You push the big toe into your thumb. Big breath, sit up. Little shrug in the shoulders, get longer. All that space between the shoulders, the armpits and the hips, get long in that space. Throat open, push. Now without moving anything, the left foot, you're pushing it to the right. Pushing it to the right. 5, push, push, push. 4, push 3, push 2, push 1. And then release. Okay, good work. We'll change positions. Right hand, right foot. Again, the big problem is this, and this is part of what happens in terms of the body being sympathetically nervous system aligned and driven, is the body's continually looking for positions that it feels protected and safe in. So of course this front body will want to tighten and get small, the shoulders will want to come forward, the chest want to tighten, the belly wants to shorten. So we're remedying that as best we can through most of our repositionings of lifting and lengthening. Breathe into the ribs. Now lift the foot. You might find that's as far as you're going to go. That's perfect. If the foot can come a little closer to the sternum, hold it with the 2 hands, thumb on the big toe, activate the big toe. Activate the big toe. Now without moving the right foot, push it to the left. Press. Press. Now lift, little shrug through the shoulders. Don't get locked. Get big, get full. Breathe 3, breathe 2, breathe 1, and then we release. Perfect. Second side. A big part of where we're going in terms of the seasons, we're coming into the Samhain season. And it is this beginning to turn inward. You know, we'll see it in nature now. The leaves are falling away from the trees. It's getting colder. It's this invitation to move inward. So what we're really working at is this foundational capacity. It's the capacity to get anchored and reconnected to the earth. And this allows our attention to be distributed. It takes us away from being in this kind of elevated, this high space, into this more anchored, grounded, internal space in which we can begin to meet ourselves in more honest, deeper ways, you know. But the meeting of ourselves is the meeting, really is the meeting of life. It's the idea of something very profound moves through each of us. And again, we have this tendency in our modern busy world to be unaware of it, not really tuned into it. So our practice, this invitation into this space, and by working with our physical body in this way, it supports this deepening, this dropping, this quickening. So left hand, left foot. Take a deep breath, sit up, hold the foot, bring it toward you. Get the big toe. The thumb is on the pad of the big toe, but you can also have the base of the thumb against the ball of the big toe, and you can work the two of them. So it's like this inner edge of the foot is extending first. Now breathe and sit up, and a little shrug through the shoulders, and you try to stay as fluid as you can. Push that left foot to the right. Push it to the right. Press, press, press. 5. Press 4. Press 3. Press 2. Press 1. Again, release. Second side. And breathe and sit up. Lift the foot, bring it towards you. Again, no crease in the inner ankle. So the inner ankle is creased, then the foot has come faster than the rest of the leg. You want everything to move as one piece. Get the thumb on the big toe, activate the inner edge of the foot. Breathe, a little shrug through the shoulders. Right foot pushing now to the left. Breathe for 5. And for 4. 3. You got it. For 2. For 1. And then we release. Okay, so again, we're just sitting cross legs. Close the eyes and just notice the feeling in the hips and legs. So all of us can move in these directions of reopening the body. It doesn't matter where we are or what's going on with our bodies. There's always going to be some potential to release some of what we're holding. And then our bodies become a more comfortable place to inhabit. So often our bodies, you know, we get stuck in the body. The body becomes rigid, becomes uncomfortable. And what happens then is our tendency, our inclination is to want to almost get out of the body. It's to want to be distracted. So we get overly embroiled in the mind's jumpiness. You know, this analogy or this metaphor that's used in some traditions of the monkey mind, you know, jumping from branch to branch. And that promotes that when the body is held and tight. So as we begin to open up, there is this quietening that begins to rise up. And when we feel more of that deeper sense of connection, what happens is we do become quieter. Naturally, a quietening unfolds. So we rest the hands, we'll connect the thumb and the index finger again. Bring the attention back to the breath. Just settle here, just notice, only for a couple of minutes. Notice the breath. Just be close to your breath. Okay, so perfect. So from here, we're going to come onto our backs. So this movement onto the back. Two knees are bent. We'll bring the soles of the feet together. We'll let the knees drop wide. If this catches you in the groins, I want you to put some cushions underneath the legs to support the legs. Okay? Otherwise, you just let the legs release. The arms either side with space between the arms and the torso, and the palms are going to face upward toward the sky. And then can you take 3 deeper breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth? And with each exhalation, can you let the body sink a little deeper into your mat? Okay, we're going to slide the left leg out. We're going to slide the right leg out. 2 feet are going to stay wider than your hips. Most important, you're comfortable. If you've got something you could put over the eyes, to drape over the eyes, do that. If you want to put a blanket on, do that. And your job here is to allow your body to surrender, to let go. So the floor now does the work for you. The floor is here now to support you. So every breath, drop a little deeper. If you become aware of any tension or holding, could you imagine that you're breathing into those spaces? Almost as if the breath were an invitation for those spaces to let go. Bring your attention back to your breath. Begin to take some deeper breaths, moving your fingers and your toes initially. Just feeling these spaces. If you want to stretch the arms over the head, feel free to do that. Bend the knees one at a time. Roll over to your side and get comfortable here. You can use your hand to your arm as a pillow. Close the eyes, come back to your breath. to the breath. And then let's come back. Let's bring ourselves back up to sitting. So sit whatever way is comfortable, whatever way works for you. Close the eyes again. Be close to your breath. Notice how you're doing. Notice what's changed for you since the beginning of our practice. Bring the hands together in front of the heart. So when fear runs the show, we know that we don't do well, we don't fare well. We become unhealthy. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of faith to move away from fear as the driving force in the world that we're living in. And our practice, the work that we do, is endeavoring to access the parts of us that allow us to live with more grace, with more trust that life is supporting us, that we are held, that we are part of something bigger, that there is a benevolence. So may our practice bring us to that space within ourselves. May we see the places, the parts of us that align to fear, and may we hold those places with kindness and wisdom. May we feed the parts of us that trust in life. May we take the hands to our forehead and to our lips and to our hearts and to ourselves and to each other. We bow. Namaste. Good work. So thank you for joining me. We're here Wednesdays and Sundays, and of course the classes then are available on demand on the YouTube channel. Please, if you can, or if you haven't, subscribe to this YouTube channel. For payment, you can go to my website, michaelryanyoga.com, and there's a few different options there, or get in touch if you have any questions. We have a coming together a day, a retreat day, and there's a couple of spaces left in November, in the middle of November, 14th of November, Saturday. We're doing that in Wicklow, in Greystones. And I hope you have a great day. Blessings.